Ladyboys, Ladyboys, Jesus Ladyboys. Whatever your preferences are, fellas, you must admit some of those Ladyboys sure know how to look good. Well, soon I'll be heading off to Southeast Asia, where I'll be for a very long time this winter, and I'm really looking forward to it and making many vlogs and giving you as much info as I possibly can about those countries. Now, my first port of call, as usual, will be Thailand. It's the obvious place to start, and already I've heard some of the obvious jibes about that country. Watch out for the Ladyboys. How many times have you heard that? It's a silly jibe, and it usually comes from people who've never even been to that country. I remember I once befriended a Canadian guy while travelling, and he said his plans were to see Southeast Asia. The following year he was going to go to Vietnam, Cambodia, the Philippines, but he wasn't going to be going to that country with all the transvestites in it. He'd heard all about that one. Well, sorry to tell him this, but Ladyboys exist in all of those other countries as well. But it's true that Thailand is the one that's well known for it, or notorious for it if you want to use that word. Well, before I go any further, the purpose of this video is not to show you lots of images of Ladyboys, because I personally don't have any involvement with them. The purpose of this video is basically to tell you how not to end up with one, by mistake. Well, we've all heard the stories about Ladyboys. Everyone has heard the stories of a friend who went out to Thailand, pulled what he thought was a woman, and ended up in bed with a man. So to those who've never actually been to Thailand and are worried about such a thing happening, how likely is it to happen, and how can you make sure that it doesn't? Well, to be honest, I've never really understood what the Ladyboy scene was all about. Ladyboys are men who dress up as women and offer their services to men for, well, money. Thailand is obviously the place that's most well known for this. Okay, fair enough. But why would a ladyboy con a man into thinking he was a woman? This is the bit that I don't get. A man meets what he thinks is a glamorous Thai woman, takes her back to his hotel for a bit of rumpy-pumpy, and then realises she is a bloke and he's been duped. So what happens then? Does he then give the ladyboy the money that he's promised? Is that likely? Really? Is that really the way it happens? I don't know, these ladyboys are motivated by money, and it just seems to me to be a really crazy way of doing business. I still don't get it. So what's the truth? Well, the way I see it, the vast majority of guys who go at ladyboys know exactly what they are. That to me is a fact, it's true. What percentage of fellas who go at ladyboys know exactly what they are? Shall we say 90, maybe 95%? Now, I know what some of you are thinking. No way, I've heard far too many stories about my friends being duped and all that. Okay, you know, I've got no way of proving a figure of 95% of men who go with ladyboys know exactly what they are. But you know what? If that really was the true figure, it wouldn't surprise me at all. The ladyboys that hang around places like Walking Street and Pattaya, it's so obviously ladyboys. I mean, you know, they are glamorous, glamorously dressed. They're about 1.5 times the size of your average female. They look like ladyboys. A real Thai girl doesn't need to dress up. A real Thai girl can wear jeans and t-shirt, and somehow she still manages to look like a girl. These are the Thai ladyboys I'm talking about, of course. In places like Cambodia and Vietnam, they don't dress so glamorous. They lack the finesse of their Thai counterparts, and to be honest, they're really quite obvious. And the voice is never ever an easy thing to disguise. It's the difference between hello and hello! So, what kind of guys go with these ladyboys? Well, if you think your average ladyboy hunter is some small, effeminate type of dude, and I used to think that, you'd be wrong. I mean, so often guys who go with ladyboys are big, muscular, sporty types. You know, they look like they play rugby. You know, these fellas look like they wouldn't have a gay bone in the body. All kinds of men you wouldn't expect seem to like ladyboys. I was once in a bar in Pattaya, and this old boisterous military looking American fella started shouting around the bar about a sexual encounter the previous night with a ladyboy and how it made him feel damn good. So long as his mother don't get to hear about it. Also, I was once in a bar in Vientiane, and I got talking to an old guy who knew the place well. He was telling me the ins and outs of the city. When I happened to mention to him, I've noticed the ubiquitous ladyboys are in town. Those bastards get everywhere, don't they? 5 minutes later, a huge ladyboy walked into the bar, sat down next to him, started kissing him. That was his girlfriend. Me and my mouth. Well, I've got to say at this point that I personally have nothing against ladyboys or the fellas who go with ladyboys. I'm broad-minded and each to their own, I say. But what about the unpleasant side of ladyboys? What about the ones who cheat the customers, lead the customer to believe that he's with a woman, and then the customer finds out the hard way? Well, it can happen, and I'm sure it does. I've heard enough stories about it, but I don't believe a lot of these stories. They always sound like there's something the guy's not telling you. Like, where did he meet this ladyboy in the first place? In a bar that was exclusively for ladyboys, perhaps? Wouldn't surprise me. To be fair, a lot of girly bars do actually have ladyboys in them, so you know, you still got to be careful. As I understand it, and I've heard this from a few bar owners, in a bar which includes a bar fine, a ladyboy is supposed to tell the customer exactly what he is. So do all ladyboys do that? No, they don't. I've come across a few, you know, ladyboys in the bar, you know, a few rogues amongst them. Unfortunately, I'm glad to say that I was sober enough to wise up to them before it was too late. But it can get a bit dodgy, especially if you're going to deal with freelancers, and it seems to me that that's the way a lot of ladyboys choose to operate. With freelancers, similar to with real girls, you can never really be fully sure of what you're getting. And what about these stereotypical sinister sides of ladyboys? Well, there is a sinister side, you know, undoubtedly there is one that exists. In a hotel I stayed in recently in Pattaya, a notice on the wall said about safety in that area, and one of the things it mentioned was that there had been a spate of robberies involving ladyboys. What the ladyboys were doing is that they were smearing some sort of drug substance on their nipples and then inviting some poor gullible chap to lick it off, by which means he was then drugged and robbed. Well, whatever you do, don't become a sucker for that one. So, how do you spot a ladyboy? Let's say you're in a bar and some lovely young Thai lady is smooching up to you and you're thinking to yourself, tonight's the night. But you really want to be sure that this really is a lady. Well, apart from the obvious things about size and voice, and the well-documented things about the Adam's apple and the size of the hands, you can always ask to see the identity card. I don't see any harm in that. She won't be going into your hotel room without showing her identity card to reception, so she may as well show it to you now. And if she refused to show it to you, well, maybe because that's because her identity card shows a picture of a man. Yes, that's right. Ladyboys do not look like ladyboys on their identity cards. But what if you really have your doubts about this lady at the bar? Well, before I first went to Thailand many years ago, I was given a bit of advice by somebody. What this person said to me was, have a good feel. Right, now I am in no way advocating groping you know, any of these Thai girls or whatever, unless of course you have their permission first. You know, the girls often get a bit touchy and feely and frisky at the bar. You know, it's all in good fun, so I suppose it works both ways. So maybe, you know, a good way of finding out exactly what you're paying for is to feel the goods beforehand. But remember, I'm not advocating groping in any way. Ask their permission first. One more thing about those identity cards, they're not always what they appear. There are some girls who will swap and use each other's identity cards for whatever reason they have. Which reminds me of the girl I once met in a bar in Phnom Penh. There I was, smooching up at the bar with this lovely, delightful young lady. I bought her a few drinks and I thought that bar find is getting very, very close. But I wanted to see her identity card because remember, you know, they're not getting into that hotel without it. Well, she was reluctant to show me her identity card at first, and the more reluctant she was, the more I was determined to see it. Finally, she pulled out the identity card. I took a look at it, and I thought to myself, oh my God, what the hell is that? That picture, not only did it look like a man, he didn't even look Asian. He was black. She tried to hush me, you know, she said, you know, shh, I borrow identity card. Really? And who exactly did you borrow it from? Smokey Robinson. Oh my God, I couldn't possibly go with this girl. I mean, you know, that identity card, you know, oh my God. I was so getting to like him, it, whatever it was. She told me not to worry about it, but I'd already made my mind up. But then I looked at this girl again. This was a beautiful, womanly, you know, feminine, nothing remotely masculine about her. That ID card couldn't possibly be her, but there was only one way to make sure. So I told her I'd pay the bar fine if she'd let me examine the goods beforehand. She didn't have a problem with that. She was up for a laugh. So we disappeared into the toilets together. I sat her down on the seat, pulled down the drawbridge and opened the gates wide. And what did I see? Pure delight, 100% woman, absolutely delightful. Yeah, it was such a lovely sight. Oh, Jesus, it was worth paying the bar fine for that alone. I still don't know how Smokey Robinson got in that picture. Now, I'm not suggesting that in order to make sure that of what you're getting, you need to go to those lengths. But having said that, when you think about it, it's probably not such a bad idea. So what I'm basically saying is, don't believe all those stories that you hear about ladyboys. Those stories, and that's what most of them are, stories about guys ending up with ladyboys by mistake. They always seem to be second or third hand information, and you know, you're never really getting the full picture. Once any information becomes second or third hand, it tends to get distorted. As for any ladyboys who may be watching this, well, I hope I haven't offended any of you, and I hope I haven't offended any guys who go with ladyboys. You know, I'm broad-minded. I'm sure most of the ladyboys are decent people who are out there and simply want to make a living. I've met a few ladyboys in my time, and I've never had a real problem with any of them. I've been going to Thailand for a very, very long time now, and for Christ's sake, if that place doesn't make you broad-minded, nowhere will. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this channel because I've got a whole lot more info that I want to share with you. Have a great day or night or whatever you're doing right now. Thanks once again for watching, and cheers.